Good evening and welcome to episode 5 of the Finger Lakes Golfer podcast on fingerlakes1.com and fingerlakes1.tv. It's Monday, July 14th, 2014. Sorry we're a little bit late tonight. If you've been waiting to watch the live edition, I'm your host Jim Sinacropi, and once again I'm joined in the studio by the Dutch Hollow two-man, fifth flight champion, the Big Easy, Bob LaPrade. Hi, Bob.
Hi, how you doing, Jim?
Thanks for hanging out while we got things in order and got online a little late tonight.
Not a problem.
But yeah, we did both play at the Dutch Hollow two-man, one of the best tournaments around, and we both walked out of there with some cash and some pro shop credit. So we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Sounds good.
And we'll also talk about golf balls. You know, what's the big difference, anyways? Bob doesn't have a pick of the week this week, which is fine because we got a lot of other things to cover. Like a first-time caddy who got a win on the back of Brian Harmon on Sunday. I don't know if you heard about that story.
No, I didn't.
So that's an interesting one. We'll recap the Dutch Hollow two-man in Owasco that we both had a great time playing in this weekend. And we'll give you the fifth hole of our Finger Lakes Dream 18 and my Zen tip of the week. So a lot to get to. So right off the gate, let's talk about it. Dutch Hollow two-man scramble.
Yes.
You played in it before. I played in it 26 years in a row, if you can believe that. And my partner and I that I played in the past few years, a pretty solid round for us is like 68. It's a par 71. And I think the best we ever shot was 67. But first round, we come out and shoot 66. No bogeys. And so it's a really good round. But the way Dutch Hollow works, it's a flighted tournament. So they take you all the scores first day. The top 10 or top 8 teams are in the championship flight. The next 8 are in the first flight. And on. They have 10 flights. And so we ended up in the second flight. We're 4th or 5th flight usually. And normally in a flighted tournament like this, you'd think, oh, geez, we got no chance. We played great on Saturday. We can't play better than that on Sunday, so you think you wouldn't win. Well, lo and behold, we shoot 67 second day. Again, no bogeys, which is something that, from somebody who's playing this tournament for a long time, I've never gone the full 36 holes without making a bogey. And so that was a pretty good accomplishment, and the conditions were a little tougher. And that 67 ended up getting us second place in our flight and first place in what they call Calcutta. It's really a sweeps. Mm-hmm. Everybody second day that wants to get in throws in an extra $50. And the low score takes it. We weren't the low score in our flight. Somebody shot 64. We were the second low at 67. But the 64, for whatever reason, didn't get in the Calcutta. So first place Calcutta. Me and my partner.
Nice.
Cleaned up on a lot of side bets. It was a good weekend. And actually, with my pro shop money, I don't know if anybody can see that, but that's the Dutch Hollow logo. I got this sweet pullover here at the pro shop along with a glove and a hat and a few other knickknacks. Great tournament. Now, Bob, you guys had a successful weekend also.
Yes,
tell us about it.
Well, it didn't start off that way. Our first 9 holes was tough. We had a couple bogeys and a double sprinkled in there. I think we had one birdie on our first hole. Actually, Jason hit a shot. Jason Pratt was my partner. Hit a shot to like 3 feet on our first hole, number 10. And we thought, okay, here we go. We got a good start, and things are going to go well. When we were done with those first 9 holes, we weren't sure where we were going, but we rallied, and we shot 4 under on the front.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. So we ended up shooting 70.
To be that far over par and then finish up 1 under, you got to be a little proud of yourself for sticking with it.
Oh, yeah, we were delighted. And then...
so that 70 placed you in the 5th flight.
Correct. Yep.
And so it's kind of the opposite of me and my partner. You guys in the 5th flight are thinking we're set to come back tomorrow and win this thing.
Right.
Nicely positioned.
Right.
But as you mentioned, you didn't sandbag. You actually pulled it together and finished strong.
Right.
And second day
we came out and we didn't make very many mistakes. I think we had one bogey. We ended up shooting a 66 and winning our flight.
And it's a great feeling.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is when you can bounce back from a tough start, for sure.
So you're out there at Dutch on second day, and is there any Did you feel like you had it won when you started getting under par? Do you think you needed another stroke? Because you never know when you're out there.
The only thing you have to gauge off of is the group you're playing against, right? Because they're out of your flight.
Right.
So we were kind of neck and neck for probably 12 holes, and then they made some mistakes, and it went downhill for them a little bit. So we knew, at least gauging ourselves against them, that we were doing okay, but we weren't sure how it was going to shake out in the end.
And congratulations to Bill and Patty Galloway, Dutch Hollow, for putting on another great event. Great steak dinner. Course was in great shape.
The dinner was awesome, yeah.
It rained a lot second day, too, which was a little disappointing.
Yeah, the weather didn't cooperate there.
Well, Saturday was beautiful. Second day, some rain, but they got it all in. And other than 2 times when it really poured, most of Saturday was mostly dry. For me, we were playing at the same time Saturday afternoon, or Sunday afternoon, Sunday. But it was a great tournament. I love it. I'll obviously be back next year for 27. Your partner was a first timer, and he was ecstatic about that. What a great tournament it is.
Yeah, he enjoyed it.
And I had friends coming in from North Carolina. The great thing is a lot of the people won from our group of friends.
Right, yeah.
We won, or just Seneca Falls area or Seneca Falls Country Club members that went up there. We won half the flights.
Right.
So a lot of fun. Again, congrats, Bill and Patty, and thanks for putting on another great event at Dutch Hollow. I think they got a real good 3-man, or is it a 4-man coming up in October?
It's either a 3 or 4. I think it's 4.
I think it's 4 too. So you can go to DutchHollow.com for information on that, and also I think final scores are at DutchHollow.com too if you want to check out how some of your friends that may have been playing in that tournament did. So thinking about what we'll talk about this week, and at Dutch Hollow it's a 2-man scramble. So what I do, and it's legal, is you can use a different ball off the tee and then a different ball in the fairway. Did you do that, or just play one ball all day?
Just played one ball. I used to do that. I used to pick, like a harder ball, top flight. But,
right.
I either read an article or someone mentioned to me about an article. They did some testing not too long ago, like a year ago. Taking like the premium softer balls and comparing them to the flights of the, your top flights or your distance balls, and they said there's not much of a difference. So,
but is there a difference?
I don't know. I mean,
negligible.
It may be. I'm not sure.
Well, off the tee, I used these Titleist. What does that even say? It's a Velocity. Titleist Velocity. They're made for distance, and mine actually has a Generations Bank logo on it because I won a dozen of these in the closest to the pin contest at a tournament last week, and that's what I hit off the tee. And whether or not I hit them farther, there's a lot of trouble at Dutch. So
yeah.
So I think I lost maybe 5 balls, 5 of these tee balls, because a lot of holes you're trying to cut corners and stuff. And since it was, easy come, easy go, I guess I won them, so I wasn't too concerned. But then everything else I played with the my Titleist Pro V 1, the same balls I play every day. And as you can see there, I got a Titleist 27, if you can see that. And I also got it branded with the Nice, which is my nickname on each one. So I don't know anybody else that plays a Titleist 27, but this was part of a great deal that Titleist ran through pro shops, and I think you can even do it directly online, where you get 4 dozen balls for the price of 3, and they're personalized. So you get to pick any crazy number you want. I chose 27 for personal reasons, and got it branded. So I'm set for balls for the year with these things. But the question then arises, I guess, what's the difference just playing for us, 5-6 handicappers, or even a 10-12 handicapper, or for that matter, even like a 1 or 2 handicap? Is there a real difference? Like if I played this hard ball all year long, would I shoot different or higher scores, or maybe lower, than playing this more expensive and softer Pro V? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I notice the feel, especially around the greens, is what
Yeah.
I prefer the softer ball for. Off the tee and hitting, long irons doesn't really. I don't see it. I don't see it being a factor, but perhaps it is.
Like maybe with an 8-iron into a green or a wedge, but again, that's a little short, more short game-ish.
Right.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. I go by. I like the little softer feel around the greens, chipping and putting. I like hitting wedges with these, but maybe it's all in my head. I'm sure that I could probably pull out almost any golf ball, whether it be a Titleist Pro V or a Pinnacle.
Mm-hmm.
And probably shoot about the same scores, but part of it's too mental. When I look down at that Titleist, it's what I feel comfortable with. And I didn't always play Titleist. Back when I started golfing, they sold true balata balls.
Mm-hmm.
And these things were like really soft. You could actually, bite into them and sink your teeth into them. And, back in those days, you probably didn't want to play a balata unless you were a really good player because they weren't as forgiving. They probably didn't go quite as far as the other balls, but they did have a lot of control and spin. But you hit one even a little thin and it's done. I mean, if you find golf balls nowadays, they're generally in pretty good shape. In those days, you might find a ball that just had a big slight, like a big smile, in it from somebody hit a thin shot. So, but they make them better now. But I used to play Callaways for probably a good decade. I would play Callaway's new ball. And then a few years ago, they came out with a ball that just cut every time you hit it with a wedge.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I said, I can't. I'm usually a one ball around guy if I can keep it out of trouble. Even if it gets a little scuffed up through the round, I'll stick with it. But these Callaways, it was almost a sleeve around because you wouldn't want to play it because you
get frayed, right?
Yeah, and you're like it's got the wind resistance has to affect it. So. That's one benefit, I guess, to the balls today is they're pretty much more resilient. And that deal that Titleist offered was a great deal, and they do it every year. So if you're thinking about it over the winter, maybe you can even do it now. It's usually a preseason special that they run. But 4 dozen balls for the price of 3 and personalized. And I've played Titleist for the past several years. But honestly, Bob, I know you play Bridgestone. You've made the switch from Bridgestone to Titleist, though, recently, right?
No, I primarily play Bridgestone, but I did buy some Titleists at the Dutch Hollow tournament.
Oh, with your winnings.
Yes.
So now you're going to start playing the Titleists.
Yeah, I'll play Titleist or Bridgestone or Callaway. As long as the ball feels good around the green, I'll play it. I originally started playing Bridgestone because no one else played it.
Right.
And mostly everybody played Titleist, so it was easier to identify your ball. And I liked them. I still think they're a good ball.
Well, I think honestly that whether it's Titleist, Bridgestone, or Callaway, they're all the same. And that's that's true for even the golfers on the PGA Tour, the best. There's not much. It comes down to preference. They're all good balls. I don't think one's better than the other.
Well, if you don't, I would imagine Titleist goes out and buys their competitor balls and, takes a look at how they stack up. They use robot testing and all that stuff, with the radar. Yeah, they know how they stack up.
So maybe to a PGA Pro, Bridgestone has a little bit higher flight or a little bit less spin.
Right.
But to most people listening to this podcast, it doesn't matter.
I'm not going to notice.
Right.
I'll tell you that.
But I would notice the difference between one of these, hard Titleist Velocities and one of these Pro Vs. So, like I said, whether or not it affects my score, you can feel it on the club.
Right. But especially the putter, right?
Especially the putter, or greenside chips, or even wedges into the green. It just it feels harder when you hit it.
Right.
You don't feel that compaction. But whether I played Titleist, Bridgestone, and they're all priced the same too nowadays. It's like I thought about switching from Pro Vs to Bridgestone at some point last year, and then I saw that it's the exact same price.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought it might be a couple bucks cheaper a sleeve, but it's just not.
Mm-mm.
So, no, yeah, golf balls. Can't play the game without them, right?
No. Actually, me and Jay had a golf ball emergency out on the course.
I heard. How could you do that? How could you show up to Dutch Hollow without enough golf balls?
Well, he ran out, and then I was giving some out of my bag, and we were hitting one of us was always hitting one out of bounds. So between shots, we're kind of working the edges of the fairways in the woods and looking, and we found some. So it didn't get to the point where the ones that we found we needed, but it got us worried.
Yeah, and then a fellow competitor who was finished with their day already, who came out to spectate, gave you some extra balls, right? Or is that a secret? Because technically, would that be illegal?
I don't know.
You might have to be returning that merchandise.
Well, we didn't get to the point where we needed to reach into any reserves, but it was close.
Well, British Open week.
Oh yeah.
Now,
should be fun.
Where does the British Open stack up for you in terms of your favorite majors?
I would say it's one of my favorites. The only thing that, if I had to say anything negative about it, is if you want to watch it live, you got to get up early.
Which sometimes helps, because a lot of times Sunday afternoon in the summers, like the Masters, I usually can watch because early April, you can't get out in the yard usually.
Right.
And you're home on Sunday afternoon. The U.S. Open's a little harder. It's on Father's Day, which usually means that I can say, hey, it's Father's Day. I'm a dad. I'm watching the U.S. Open. But what has happened in recent years is like I'm at some family cookout.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to, on the major final days, settle in at, right when the coverage comes on and just sit there for the next 6 hours and watch every single shot. That's ideally, and I do that for the Masters, but I find it tough to do for the U.S. Open. British Open, again, is hard because on Sunday morning of the British, we got a tee time at Seneca Falls.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to not play golf to watch golf.
Right.
So what'll probably happen is we'll get off the course and we'll watch the last 4 holes in the clubhouse.
Yep.
So, and then I like nothing better than during the majors than, just watching the Golf Channel, like late at night. They do the good recaps every round and all the interviews and analysis, and that's a great thing about the majors. But they're going to be at Royal Liverpool, which is hosted 11 times previously, most recently 2006. You know who won that one?
Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods. And prior to 2006, it was 1967. And here's a little trivia for you, Bob. Who was the last player to win 3 Open Championships in 3 different decades? It's been done 3 times, and I'm asking you who the last player to do it was.
Was it recent? Or was the last one recent or no?
I'll tell you the decades. It'll make it a little easier. They were 1950. The championships were 59, 68, and 74.
I'm gonna go with Gary Player.
Hey, good call. Yeah, it was Gary Player. 1959, 1968, 1974. He joined the likes of Harry Vardon and J.H. Taylor, who have won Opens in 3 decades. Now, I assume Tiger Woods has a chance to do it if he were to win this week, because he won in 2006 and he won in the 90s an Open Championship. What do you think of Tiger's chances?
Boy, if I was to bet on him, I wouldn't bet very much. Just because he's had 1 round since the surgery, competitive round.
And it didn't go well?
Yeah, it didn't go great. And but, you can't count him out either, because he seems to like to hang around for majors if he's healthy. So
yeah, I'm kind of counting him out, though.
Are you?
Yeah, I don't know what the betting line is, but I would give him maybe 80-1.
Wow. Wow.
What indication do we have that he can win one of the greatest tournaments? How long has it been since his last major? Over 6 years, 24 tournaments, major tournaments, and he's not even in contention anymore. Right. He's not even making cuts. And to me, like I've said before, it's not just that he's healthy enough to hit the ball. He can't putt like he used to, and he's never gonna, because that was the main thing that separated him from everybody else. Was he was the best putter that ever lived for a good 10, 15-year period, and he's lost it, and he's never gonna putt like that again. Sorry, Tiger, he's never gonna putt like that again.
Well, he could make up some putts when he needed them, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he was amazing. I was never a Tiger fan, and it was very frustrating. And one of the main reasons I wasn't a Tiger fan is because he ruined all these tournaments. You know, you want to sit, like I said, I'd settle in to watch 6 hours of Masters coverage, and it was Tiger leading by 8 the whole time.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, God. And then you're just thinking that maybe you got a chance where he's going to drop a stroke, and he rolls in like a 35-foot par putt.
Right.
Or he chips one in, or, you know, he just... I've never seen a golfer who usually in a PGA Tour tournament, the leaders are putting well, so you see them make a lot. But every time Tiger played, he made the putts, you know, when he was in his prime. So, you know, all these physical injuries are one thing, but he would always spray the ball. Even back when he was at his best, he would hit the ball 3 fairways over and end up making a 12-foot par putt. Or sometimes... you know, knocking it on the green and making a 20-foot birdie putt.
And he was younger and stronger, too, to get out of some of the heavy rough or the heather, I guess, as they call it over there.
Yeah. And again, that was one of the things about the open courses that kind of tailored to Tiger is you could spray it a little bit more than usual. But
right.
So who is your pick? Are you picking Tiger?
No, I wouldn't pick Tiger. I like Spieth.
You gotta like him.
He seems very solid lately.
Played good at the John Deere last week.
I'm trying. Is that a long hitters course? I mean, can the short guys get in there?
I mean, Tom Watson did it the last.
Oh yeah.
Well, that wasn't Royal Liverpool.
But they usually get a lot of run out and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm a huge Luke Donald fan. I'd love to see him win it.
He hasn't been in contention too often lately, though.
No, he hasn't.
But so your pick Spieth, or are you still like hashing it out?
Right now that would be my pick. Spieth. Zach Johnson kind of.
He played good at the Deer too.
Yeah, he came good there.
I'd like to see Zach Johnson win, but my pick is Sergio. I think that this is the year, and this is the course that Sergio finally gets a major. He's played pretty well this year, and I don't know why. I got a feeling. I've picked Sergio in majors a few times over the years, and it obviously hasn't panned out. But I think this year is the year for the Spaniard. He's matured, and I think this is Sergio's year. So, you know, we'll keep an eye on that.
If he can keep the putter going, he should do well.
You got Spieth, I got Sergio.
Okay, we'll see next week.
So enjoy the Open Championship this week, and get up early to watch it. Hey, local golf news. The Nasty Money's at Seneca Falls Country Club this Saturday.
Yep.
Now, what kind of tournament is that, right? The Nasty Money? What's going on out there? It's a great time, run by your partner at Dutch, Jason Pearl. It's the 5th or 6th annual. Yeah, you get T-shirts, you get all sorts of door prizes, you get great meals, and there's a lot of booze out on the golf course.
Yes, that's for sure.
And it's really a phenomenon, this tournament, right?
Yep.
I mean, he started it, like I said, 5 years ago as just a smaller type of thing for his friends, and it really grew immediately.
Right.
To the point where you can't get anybody in. I guess they might be able to squeeze in one or more 2 teams, or there might be 1 or 2 teams that need to find a 4th.
Right.
So, you know, if you do want to play in it, call down to the pro shop at the St. Falls Country Club, 315-568-5202, and tell them that you're looking to get a team in, or you're looking to fill in a team, and I guarantee you'll have a great time. And so next week we'll probably be talking about that.
Yep.
Also this week, the Sunday qualifier for the 2014 New York State Men's Am is at Timber Banks on Sunday. Sunday qualifier makes sense. They do all the qualifiers, and then they have a Sunday that they set aside as the last one, And this year it's at Timber Banks in Baldwinsville, the new Nicholas course. You've played it?
No, I have not.
Incredibly difficult greens to the point where they supposedly have slowed them down a little bit this year because they're so severely sloped. First time I played over there, it was like another world on those greens. But if you want to get in, it's too late. Deadline was tonight at 5 o'clock. But here's an event that you could attend if you're interested in Robert Trent Jones. New York Times bestselling author James R. Hansen will be appearing at 6 o'clock on Thursday at Green Lake State Park golf course in Fayetteville. That's Trent Jones' design, one of his earliest. And he'll be there to sign copies of his latest book entitled A Difficult Par by Robert Trent Jones Sr. and the Making of Modern Golf. Green Lakes is among the first courses designed by Trent Jones. So that'd be an interesting book to read if you have any interest in golf course architecture. And what do we got over here? Oh, Pro Junior Championship. The CNY PGA Pro Junior Championship, which was held on July 11th at Oneida Golf Club, was won by Matthew Janes out of Corning.
Nice job.
Shot a 1 over 72. So congratulations, Matthew. And I got some results here from the July 10th Central New York PGA Senior Pro tournament at Cortland Country Club. Tom Gorman won at 72, one stroke ahead of Mel Baum at 73, and then Joe Tesori came in third at 77th. Now Mel Baum is the way to say it, I believe. He's playing in a senior event now, but I remember when I was a kid and he came to Seneca Falls for Pro-Ams, he was like the best. He was like one of those guys that you thought maybe would take it to the next level. He was just kind of like a larger-than-life like guy that we kind of idolized. And he bought me a Coke at the bar at Seneca Falls one day, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. He's a really nice guy. Glad to see he's still shooting good numbers. Yeah. 73, second place. Not enough to beat Tom Gorman. All these local pros I know because I caddied on the Central New York PGA circuit,
right?
For several years, and I got stories about all these guys. Some of them not really suited to tell on the old on the old podcast here, but we also have some hole-in-ones.
Oh, nice.
Got a few hole-in-ones across the region this past week. Like David, let me start this one off. July 5th at Highland, the 148th yard par 3 11th hole was aced twice that day.
Wow.
You imagine that? David Balk hit a 6-iron, and then later that day, Mike Curran hit a pitching wedge and aced it. Not bad. So same hole, two in one day.
Yeah, you don't normally see two in one day on the same hole, even.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it's kind of crazy. I don't think that's ever happened at Seneca Falls, where there's been two on the same hole in one day or two on the same day. Period.
Not that I can think of.
Well, they did it at Highland on last Saturday. I think it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
Clifton Springs member John Carroll. There's a big name in local golf.
Mm-hmm.
He had a hole-in-one on the 160-yard 18th hole at Tuscarora with an 8-iron.
Yeah, right here.
You got a Tuscarora shirt on?
Yes, I do.
It's a beautiful course.
Yeah, it is.
I love Tuscarora. Dan Coffey used an 8-iron to score a hole-in-one on the 155-yard 7th hole at Clifton Springs. Congratulations, Dan. Dan Miller aced the 170-yard 2nd hole at Cobblestone Creek using a 6-iron. And Kathy White of Mendon aced the 120-yard 11th hole on Victor Hills North with an 8-iron. So congratulations on all those aces. Still looking for your first ace, right, Bob? Your first hole-in-one?
Yeah, it came close on 9 on Sunday.
The uphill par 3 at Dutch.
Yep, came about 3 feet.
Now, when you hit it up that hill to the plateau at the top of the green, you can't see if it went in or not.
No, we didn't even know. Well, we knew it was right of the pin, but we didn't know how close it was till we got up there.
Well, off the top of the show, I mentioned that a first-time caddy got a win at the John Deere.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I get home on Sunday after Dutch, and I put on the Golf Channel in the final round. I love it because a lot of times I don't even keep track of what happened, and then there you are sitting in your house in prime time watching the final round of a tournament. So this is one of those situations where I didn't know who won. I'm watching Golf Channel, and they're airing the final round. It's like I'm watching it live. And Jay Hatch, who's a girls' high school basketball or softball coach, basketball and softball coach. He's coached state championship teams at Alaman High School in Rock Island, Illinois. He added to his resume on Thursday when he helped carry Brian Harmon to an 8-under round and a share of the first-round lead at the John Deere Classic. Now, Harmon's veteran looper, Scott Tway, I don't know if that's any relation to Bob Tway, but he came up ill on the 6th hole. And he always wanted to be in, it might have been something he ate the night before, but anyways, Harmon, his player, said, you're not feeling well. They called medics over, and he left, and they basically said, look for somebody in the gallery to carry this guy's bag. And old Jay Hatch was ready to go. He says, I always wanted to be inside the ropes and see what it looked like from there. You know that commercial where they say these guys are good? Well, they're way, way better than that. The 48-year-old coach and math teacher was standing beside the 7th tee on Thursday morning when Tway, who had been awake and ill much of the previous night, required medical attention. The call went out for anyone, to step up and shoulder Harmon's bag. Harmon went 6 under over his final 12 holes, and Hatch insisted, though, that he didn't have anything to do with that. He only hit one bad shot. But the guy went out and won the tournament. This Harmon kid won the Deere tournament, John Deere tournament, and played fantastic in the final round. Absolutely fantastic.
Yes, he did.
And I don't know, Bob, let's say you were in the gallery. Would you raise your hand?
Oh, absolutely.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Just showing up as a spectator, next thing you know, you're on the bag. And I'm sure Brian Harmon's his new favorite golfer.
Right, yeah.
And not only that, but Harmon said he's going to make sure he gets his cut.
Nice.
So it probably won't be the full caddy's cut, but for first place, just even those 6 holes, or those 12 holes he caddied, if you proportionally take that out of what normally is the caddy's cut, he's going to get several $1,000s for the effort.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty cool. And, Bob, that's all the news I got, unless there's anything I missed that you know of.
Not that I can think of. It was a fast and furious weekend, that's for sure.
And one thing about playing at Dutch Hollow and that 2-man is you're like up there for most of the weekend, and the world kind of stops.
Right.
And Dutch is your world.
Yep.
Until you get home and the wife is like, okay, you've been gone for 2 straight days. Here's a list of chores.
There was an interesting episode on, I think it's ESPN Outside the Lines, about golf addiction.
Saw that on Sunday morning a little.
Did you see
I
it?
caught it about halfway through, and I thought, this is crazy. These guys just like to golf. They're shirking responsibility because they like. That's like me, but I say no, I can't golf because I got this responsibility.
Right.
But you think different. You think this is an actual medical condition.
Well, no, I'm not saying that I think it's a medical condition, but these guys, maybe for these guys, I don't know. They had some pretty rough stories. The one guy lost his family and lost his job. He
hit balls during his son's birthday party or something.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean,
I guess anything could be an addiction, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. But though, how is it addicting? Is it physically addicting, or is it habit forming? What are you doing? It's like almost saying you can't blame me. Like those guys that they were interviewing during that segment on ESPN. It's almost like they're saying, Jesus, don't blame me. I just couldn't help it. I couldn't not golf.
Right.
But yeah, I had never heard that one before. I mean, I've known guys who would get out on the golf course a little bit more than normal. I mean, we're 2 of them.
Right.
But I never considered it a physical ailment or a addiction, I just love it, and that's my favorite pastime.
Right.
I've never missed my daughter's birthday because it's in November.
There you go. It's not during the golf season, right?
Right. Well, speaking of golf season, how about the Finger Lakes Dream 18? We're up to hole 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a tough time with this one because, I've tried to think of some great hole 5s, and there's really none that really stand out to me on any courses, so I had to kind of dig deep, and we haven't had any par 3s yet.
Oh,
They've all par 4s. Yeah, all par 4s so far. So I decided to go with a par 3, and I went with a Canandaigua Country Club 5th hole, 146-yard par 3. And I know it's not, a lot of people might say, who played that course, say, why that hole? It's just nice. It's just a basic, nice par 3. It's a big green that's longer than it is wide, guarded front right with a bunker, a little bit of a bailout left, but if you go too far left, you're going to be in a lateral hazard, a creek running in front of it. It's a beautiful hole on a beautiful course. Of course, Canandaigua was only 9 holes. If you play it twice, then the 5th becomes the 14th, and they play it at 166 yards. But the 5th hole is just 146, and it's the 17th hole easiest. It's the 17th handicap hole, which means it's the second easiest on the course. And it's just a classic little par 3. We needed a par 3. Hole 5 at Canandaigua is our Finger Lakes Dream 18 hole this week.
It's a nice distance as well.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's frustrating when you go play a course and every par 3 is like 210, 215. I think, a real true par 3, you got a short iron in your hand. And even a wedge sometimes. And then, a smaller landing area, well bunkered or right over water, something to make it interesting. But when you got to pull out your hybrids on the par 3s, it's okay for 1 or 2 holes on a course to be that way, but I always like to pull up to a par 3 and, look at a short iron wedge opportunity to make a birdie if you hit a good shot.
Yeah, and I think a good par 3, doesn't necessarily have to be long, but has a premium. Basically, this is what you said, has a premium for hitting the green, right? You miss it left, you're in a bunker, right, you're in a bunker, short, false fronts, whatever.
Yeah, it's almost like, okay, you got a short iron or wedge in your hand, hit the green, you're golden. Miss the green, and double bogey maybe.
Right.
As a possibility. So that's kind of like a lot of courses have that. Like at Seneca Falls, it's the 12th hole. It usually plays about 115 to 125. Tiny green, bunkers, left, right. Big slope fall off on the right hand side, and a lot of times those short holes have really difficult greens, like more sloping. And so you stand up there, and 12 at Seneca Falls is actually the easiest hole in the course, and you're thinking, you're ready to make a birdie, par at worst, and you walk out of there sometimes with a 5 or 6, and you're like, wow, what just happened?
Right, yeah.
So that's next week we'll be looking for hole number 6s, the best 6th hole in the Finger Lakes.
Yep.
And you can email us your suggestions at contact@fingerlakes1.com, subject line FLX Golfer, Finger Lakes Golfer, something to indicate that email is meant for the Finger Lakes Golfer podcast. And we'd love to hear your suggestions. I haven't really thought ahead, so I can't give you any off the top of my head of the contenders, but we'll be thinking about it this week. Hole 6s. And you know what? If it was a par 5, that would be great, because we need to get some par 5s on the front 9 of our Dream 18 here.
Yes, we do.
So, we're coming up here. Boy, we did get on late. It's after 10:30 here on Monday night. We're about 40 minutes into this episode, and it's time now for my Zen tip of the week. And I usually come up with my Zen tip of the week when I'm on the golf course during the week and a certain situation arise or something that will remind me of some portion of a Zen golf that I'm trying to practice. And a Dutch Hollow in the 2-man scramble, I hit second. What order, by the way, did you guys hit?
I think we started with me hitting, but after that first 9, we switched it up. We swapped it, and it stayed that way.
Same putting, too?
Putting, I went second, I think, most of the time. Yeah, most of the time.
Well, my partner and I, he goes first, I go second. That's just the way it's always been on everything, and we never mix it up. And that's one reason why I think that him and I kind of play well together. Is like there's none of that even figuring out. We know what's going to happen before we go into it, even to the point of how we read the greens and mark the ball and hand the mark off after the first guy putts and stuff like that. It's always the same every hole, and I kind of like that. But the problem with two-man scrambles is once the first guy hits a bad shot, it's not a two-man scramble anymore. No. It's a one-man scramble.
Right.
And this isn't disparaging my partner at all because he played great all weekend. But invariably, as the first hitter, he's going to hit a few bad shots here or there, and I'm going to be standing up there knowing that we're taking my ball no matter what. And so yesterday we're on the par 5 fifth tee. It's a reachable, it's actually a severe dogleg par 5 that you can get home in 2, but you need to hit a solid drive to carry a creek or a stream. It's probably only about 200 off the tee, but you still need to hit it a solid shot to get it over. My partner duck hooked it into the wood, so he's out of play. So we're either taking my ball or we're re-teeing. And so this is where my tip comes in. And my Zen tip this week is, in stressful situations, think rationally and then let it go. So what I mean about this is, my partner's in the woods. I know that. I know that we're taking my ball. Now, really, it's not that much different than if I'm out there playing on my own ball anyways, or any course. Usually when you play golf, you play the ball you hit anyways. So a lot of that stress is being brought on by the fact that I got to hit this shot now, but I do it all the time. You hit tee shots all the time. Now, I hadn't hit my driver that well throughout the day, but if you step up there thinking about the situation, oh no, my partner's in trouble, oh my god, if there's no way we're going to win our flight if I don't hit a good shot here, or we could end up making a double here, or all that, you got to let that go. And you got to stand over the ball and treat it as if you're playing your own ball and put a good swing on it. All you can do is put your best swing on it. So, again, some of these Zen golf tips kind of get a little crazy, but, get a little off topic talking about them. But when I'm over that ball, and this has taken practice over the years, in that type of situation, if I have done my job, I'm not thinking about anything except just hitting the shot without any regard to bad results. I can't put my best swing on it if I'm guarding against hooking it out of bounds like he did, or, I may blow one so far right you wouldn't believe it because I just want to, So you line it up like you do any shot, you put your best swing on it, and you hit it, and you accept whatever comes. And in that particular time, I hit one of my best drives of the day, right down the middle, over the stream, rolling down the fairway. My partner and I breathe a sigh of relief, and we get on the way. But, every round that we play together, there's 4 or 5 shots like that I have to hit. And if the roles were reversed and I hit first, I would invariably leave him in the same situations. It's not that he failed. It's that you hit bad shots. And in a two-man scramble, there's only 2 guys. It's a lot different than a 3 or 4 man. So were you guys in any situations like that over the weekend where one of you was in trouble and it came down to that last guy?
Oh, yeah. The way I like to handle it is if my partner puts one OB or in a crick, or even possibly you're not sure, I'll go to my can't miss shot, and that's my with my driver I can force a cut on it to make sure that I keep left out of play, and sometimes
you take half the course side of the course out,
right, and it doesn't work all the time, but it works enough to where I feel comfortable, where I go, okay, I'm going to hit a little different shot than I normally would here.
Yeah, you accept the situation, stand up and hit a shot you're comfortable with, and commit to it.
Right.
And the tip, though, is, I suppose, is that when you get to that point and you're over the ball, you can't be thinking about the big picture of the tournament and that you might embarrass yourself by having to re-tee in a scramble and ruining your chances of winning. Because honestly, at that point in our round, if I had followed him into the woods with a duck hook, we're done. We're pretty much done.
Right.
But you got to forget all about all that and stand over there and just focus on the task at hand. If you do get nervous and you're thinking about that stuff, you're not going to hit your best shot. You're going to swing with just your arms. You're not going to make a full turn. And that's one of the things in those situations I tell myself is, because usually in stressful situations, even on my own ball, one of my most common things to do is swing with just my arms and try to guide it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thought that I have, stepping up to the ball is, take a full turn and hit the ball, focusing only on where you want it to go. And you may, when evaluating the situation, rationally say to yourself, I'm going to aim 10 yards further right just in case I tug it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
To keep it away from the trouble. But other than that, once you've keyed it up and line, you just got to hit it to that spot and don't worry about the response. And the same holds true when you're putting in a two-man scramble. You might have a 3-foot putt that when you're walking up to in a two-man scramble, you think is just going to take care of business. First guy misses it. Now, there's just one guy. And you know how much trouble I've been having putting, Bob. So that happened to me a few times. My partner and I didn't make a bogey. Mm-hmm. So I'm really proud of that. I'll hang that on my resume for the rest of my life. No bogeys, 36 holes at Dutch, two-man. But there were 4 times throughout the course of the weekend where my partner missed one of those, and that was way more stressful than even the drives for me because I've struggled with those. But I do the same thing with those putts as I do with a drive. You read it to your best of your ability, and then you have to say to yourself, look, I'm going to hit this putt either way. It's either going to be up there scared about results, or it's going to be the best effort I can, accepting the fact that if I miss it, I put a good stroke on it. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to make all those 4 times that I had to. I was able to make them. One of them, I didn't put that good a stroke on, and it just kind of snuck in and got lucky. But, again, Zen tip of the week this week, in stressful situations, recognize the situation, then let it go and put your best swing on it without worrying about the results. Because if you're getting caught up in the results, you've got such a less chance of hitting a good shot.
Right.
So what's the point? I mean, you almost got to not even be nervous about it anymore because you just got to know. Look, you're hitting this thing one way or another. So
yeah, you got to hit it. So why add counterproductive thoughts to the process?
Yeah, and of course it's not easy to do because we all feel pressure.
Right.
And but anyways, that's my Zen tip of the week, Bob.
I like it.
Any stressful putts that you were over this weekend at Dutch?
No, I wouldn't say stressful. I'd say the first day we missed some 3 and 5 footers that we just shouldn't have missed. So that kind of, I think after you miss 1 or 2 of those, you maybe press a little bit harder on the longer ones, and they're not as good as
try to
putts.
Get it closer.
Yeah, they're not as good as putts as that they could be.
Well, I also did something that I usually don't do. Well, I shouldn't say that. I do it over the years, but usually it was a dramatic thing for me to do heading into Dutch Hollow 2-man, which is one of my majors. It's one of the big ones that you kind of benchmark. And I've putted for the last 2 years with a Odyssey Ghost 2-ball mallet putter. Mm-hmm. And as you know, the past month, I've been just clueless, totally lost with the putter, especially the short ones. It's cost me an average of at least 3 shots around. I mean, consistently. I've tried to practice. I've had rounds where I've putted okay, but it's just been a reoccurring thing. And when I played golf earlier this last Wednesday, and I had friends in town, so I was played a lot of golf leading up to Dutch with them at Seneca Falls, and it got really, really bad. Wednesday or Thursday morning, early in the morning, I went out and played, and it was like the worst I've putted in a decade. So I went home and I said, you know what? I went downstairs. I got my old Spalding TPM putter that I putted with from probably on and off from age 15 to 30, and maybe pull out every now and then when I had trouble, and putt with it for a little bit. But we played Friday night, and I brought it out, and I putted pretty good. And I brought it to Dutch, and I just went with it, and I putted better than I putted in a month.
Nice.
And sometimes it's just a little different look that'll help get you there. But, you know, the weird thing I'm thinking, too, is that I mentioned I played 26 years in a row at Dutch. That putter was with me in 87 and 88. When I was out, it has made putts at that course before.
Right.
And I've won my flight with that putter before. And so, I don't know, in a weird way, it kind of was nice. I just didn't really think about the fact that this is a new putter. You know, I just kind of liked the way it looked, and I just went with it, and we made a few putts kind of early on, and I can't wait to play golf again on my own ball and use that thing. And it'll wear off, and I'll probably go back to my old putter or my Odyssey or something else at some point, but not until I start struggling.
Well, when you do struggle putting, sometimes it's nice just to look at something different.
Yeah, anything.
Right?
Anything.
You know, just to make some type of change, even if you're practicing and you're working hard at it, just looking at something different sometimes helps.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, because they are starkly different putters. The Spalding TPM is a black blade, almost flat with a little curve on the back, but it's basically the closest thing you can get to like a Acushnet bullseye putter from the back in the day. And my Odyssey is this big mallet, you know, with an oversized grip and everything, you know, just totally different. Everything was different, but I think that might be what I needed. So,
yep.
Well, Bob, speaking of putting, next week we have a special guest Skyping into the show from Florida. His name's Kevin Smith. He's from upstate New York. He's from, he's a former member of Seneca Falls. He's got a training aid called the Point Putter. And you know what it is.
Yep, I'm familiar with it.
But we're going to show it's really actually a pretty ingenious way to, usually when you think about training aids for putting, not many of them are focused on making consistent impact. But consistent impact is probably the most important thing to consistent putting. And so this training aid will help you with that. And we're going to have him on and tell you all about the Point Putter. That's next Monday night. Our first Skyped-in guest.
Nice.
And really looking forward to that. We'll also recap the British Open. We'll talk about the Nasty Money, which we're playing in Saturday. If we're both, nobody gets injured.
Right, yeah.
And we'll be back here Monday night. So thanks for everybody for tuning in a little late tonight. Sorry we were a little late getting on. But we'll be back for episode 5 of the Finger Lakes Golfer Podcast next Monday night at our normal time at 9 p.m. with special guest Kevin Smith, where we'll talk about his awesome training aid, the Point Putter. Until then, Bob, hit 'em long. Not often. Night, everybody.
Night.
Support great local content like this by becoming a patron of FingerLakes1.com. Visit patreon.com/FL1.
FingerLakes1.com